What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some punk rock. And I'm especially excited because this is long overdue, and we are now going to begin going through the Dead Pioneers albums properly. Which is further to say, I've heard a smattering of songs, I think 4 songs from these guys, based on, or through 2 different special playlists curated by Kim. And indeed, shout out to Kim for sharing this, as well as to Brian, who I understand enjoyed the Dead Pioneers reaction so far. But yes, we're going to start going through their 2 albums properly. The first one, self-titled 2023, begins with a track called Tired. And having got a sense of these guys, not only sonically, but lyrically and thematically, I wouldn't be surprised if this fatigue or exhaustion relates to their perception of, attitude toward exploitations, oppressions, cultural mores, or indeed ways of thinking that denigrate those outside of the, let's say, WASP majority of the United States. I do wonder, of course, whether this will speak to something much more narrow and specific, but by extension making claims or suggestions about larger cultural, social, political, historical, military issues. So yeah, it's a one-word title. Those are tough to get a read on, but I have some sense, maybe, of where this might be headed. Let's give it a listen. This is Dead Pioneers. The tune is Tired, and it's the first track on their 2023 self-titled album.
America's a pyramid scheme, and you ain't at the top. Your demonization of those different than you is not just a cottage industry in America, but an honest-to-goodness American value. Of this country is rooted in slavery and genocide, born in the bosom of colonialism. Go! America acts like its original inhabitants are foreigners in their own lands. Racism, homophobia, transphobia, classism, and ableism. And it all makes me so very tired.
You know, I'm going to suggest that my thoughts in advance weren't terribly off base. And again, this idea that a more pluralistic view based on actual history and cultural, social, and anthropological, but specifically national understanding is there waiting, and you shouldn't be scared by it because it is, in fact, a more informed view, and perhaps, if taking it more seriously, you might come to understand the awful pillars upon which this nation-state has been built. And indeed, 2 things here. One, as a historian who studied very early U.S. history, as well as American history, meaning continental history more broadly, I feel like some of the lines here are just spot on. And they also make me think of a line from a Propagandhi song, which I'm forgetting the name of. It's from Less Talk More Rock, their second album. And he's talking about racism and racist attitudes toward, non-European peoples, which, as this song says, sort of the dominant WASP majority has seen as like foreigners in their own lands, where their forefathers and ancestors were here long before Europeans and their colonialism and their exploitation and their political marginalization came. But he's talking about he being the lead singer, or I don't remember who wrote this song. I'm assuming it's Chris, lead singer of Propaganda, but he's talking about, like, what is it about the aspects of your, white history that make you so proud of? Like, racism, exploitation, capitalism, and then he throws in sitcoms, which I always thought was a funny line. But yeah, it's the idea that these systems and processes of exploitation, of suppression and marginalization have been here right from the beginning, and those who try to romanticize that or gloss over it with rose-tinted historical nostalgia are taking a very selective and frankly historically inaccurate view, because with rare exceptions and moments or oases of attitudes and individuals or processes running counter to this, again, the vast majority of U.S. history has been not for the benefit of indigenous people, certainly, which I understand is an angle that is perhaps particularly meaningful to dead pioneers. But yes, for non-Europeans, for non-Protestants, for non-males, for non-capitalist supporting peoples and individuals, the history of the United States has been very oppressive, exploitative, brutal, violent, and excluding. So yes, the weight of that history, the impact of that history, and the right up into the present ramifications of that history weary, tire, and exhaust the narrator in the song here. And again, rightly so, as someone who's studied that in an academic sense and written a little bit about it here and there. So yeah, I think it's a song that fits right in with what I already know about them. I do enjoy kind of the old school 80s sound once again with the actual sonics and the guitar, and I like the sort of, pulsing beginning to the tune, and then it kind of breaks into a more, rhythmic punk rock sound with some edgy guitar work along the way, and I like the way it, suddenly peters out as if the song is tired of all these processes and bigotries, prejudices, and oppression. So yes, a very well-crafted song, and one that does not surprise me in any way, even though I'm still very new to this band. So looking forward to the rest of this album, as well as is it Post-American, the 2025 one? We'll get to that one eventually, and obviously there's a few tunes we'll jump over because I did already react to them, but looking forward to it all. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.